Okay, so we looked at some examples of common factoring. Now we're going to look at an example where we are factoring a trinomial. This means that they don't have anything in common, but there is a way of factoring it so that it looks like two binomials that are being multiplied. So just like common factoring is the opposite of the distributive property, this would be the opposite of doing FOIL or binomial expansion. So the strategy here is I want it to be two terms, two binomials that are being multiplied. There's nothing in front of the x squared, so I know that my answer is going to look like this. There's going to be two x's in the front. And then to figure out what numbers go here, I'm going to look at the 9 and the 20. I'm going to look for two numbers that I can add together to get 9, and the same two numbers I want to multiply together to get 20. So I'm going to look at the factors of 20. I know that 1 and 20 are factors. They multiply together. 2 and 10 are factors. 4 and 5 are factors. These multiply together and these multiply together. Once you have your factors listed, ask yourself, which of these can I add together? But it has to be the pairs that actually multiply to make 20. Which of them can I add together to get 9? So 1 and 20, I can't make 9 with them. 2 and 10, I can't make 9 with them, but 4 and 5, I can make 9 with them. So those are going to be what I fill in. 4, 5, 4, 5, because 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 times 5 is 20. They have to be the same number, or the same pair of numbers. So that means positive 4 and positive 5, so that's what I'm going to fill in here. Positive 4 and positive 5. And that's it. That's my final answer. And you can do expansion to test whether it was correct. Or you can go back to the expansion video if you're not sure. Okay, next example. Okay, so I'm always first checking to see if they have anything in common, any common factors to factor out. There are none. So I'm going to do trinomial factoring. So again, I know that my final answer is going to look like this. It's going to have x's here. I'm just looking for these two other numbers. So I know that when I add them, they have to give me the middle number. And when I multiply them, they have to give me the outer number, or the last number here. You can also think of it like the coefficient here is a. So we're looking at two numbers that we add together. Blank plus blank gives us B, and blank times blank gives us C. And it has to be the same two numbers. So if it's R and S, has to be R and S over here. Okay, so here I'm looking for two numbers that I can add to get 5 and multiply to get negative 14. Always start with looking at which numbers you can multiply because there's fewer options there. With the addition, you have an infinite number of possibilities. Like I could have 100 and negative 95. It goes on. But here I'm more limited to the second part, so that's where I'm going to look. So I'm going to look at which numbers I can multiply to make 14. If it's easier for you to write it out like this, you can. So you can look at it like 1 times 14, 2 times 7, and actually that's it. But I know that it has to be a negative 14, which means that one of the numbers has to be negative. Now that I know which numbers I can multiply to make 14, I'm going to check which of these add up to make 5. So 1 and 14, sorry, negative 1 and 14 give us 13, so that doesn't work. 1 and negative 14, that gives us negative 13, so that doesn't work. 2 and negative 7 give us negative 5, but here, negative 2 and 7, that gives us positive 5. So this is our answer. That's what I'm multiplying and adding. So negative 2 and 7, negative 2 and 7, and that's what I'm going to fill in over here. Negative 2, positive 7. Okay, next example. So here I'm looking for, remember, two numbers that I add together to make the middle term, the b, so negative 13, and then I can multiply to make c, or 22. So this is positive, so my options are 1 times 22, 2 times 11, and that's it, or negative 1 times negative 22, and negative 2 times negative 11. And then looking at them, which of them add to get negative 13? Not these, it's this one over here. These two add together to make negative 13. So that's what I'm going to fill in.